Hi you guys, I hope you can't hear my lawn people. I'm sure you can. I am so sorry for that. It's insanely annoying, but we're just gonna have to do it. You know, the weird thing is I thought we fired them. Maybe they're mowing someone else's lawn. Hopefully it'll be done soon and you actually can't even hear it. But I'm so excited for today's video because I'm going to do a girl talk get ready with me, hence the no makeup, and answer all of your questions that you asked me about my experience in Japan, which just made me super happy. So thanks if you asked a question. And let's get into this video. It's gonna be a long one. Like, I'm just warning you now. I feel like I have so much to talk about. So grab a coffee, get ready with me, grab some water, whatever you need to do, just be prepared, okay? So to start with what's on my face, I have the Lancome Vitamin C. I've been using this and I really do feel like it's lightening this dark spot, but I'm also using retinol, so it's hard to tell. I'm gonna give you a full, once this stuff goes away, if it goes away, I'll let you know everything that I've been doing. But vitamin C from Lancome. I just got my Kiehl's Creamy Avocado Eye Cream back in. I'm using this during the daytime and the Lancome at nighttime, but love this stuff. So happy to have that back in my life. It's an interesting consistency, but it really helps me pat instead of wipe, which is, you know, what you want to do with eye cream. It's very thick and can like skip on you. I don't know how to explain it, but it's amazing. It's such an affordable, good eye cream. So I've used that stuff for years and years on and off, and I always go back and repurchase that one. And then I have the Dr. Jart Ceramidin cream on. So that's the skincare. Makeup, everything will be listed down below. I'm not gonna go through like every makeup product that I use like normal because I have so many questions to answer. So to start with, the reason I was in Japan, and if you, some of y'all know, some of this will be like obvious and then other of it will be like not. So I went over to Japan with the company Abercrombie & Fitch. I had worked for them. Also, Abercrombie and Hollister, the same company. I worked for both of them, but they're the same, different stores, same company. So I worked for Abercrombie, the company, because that's the parent company. I worked for them since I was 16 years old in New York, like through high school and all of that, I worked for them. And when I went to Tampa, Florida for college, I again worked for them all through college. And when I was graduating college, I was like, oh, I have no idea what I want to do. I really looked up to my manager, who at the time was my store manager, and she was like, you should join the MIT program, which was the manager in training program. Something I love about this company is that everyone has gone through the same process. No, they don't hire externally except for like CEOs and stuff like that. I don't know if it's changed, but I don't believe that it has. You have to start from the same spot as everyone does, which I think is great for a company because you just know that you're not getting beat out by external, I don't know, I just enjoy it, okay? So I joined the MIT program in May when I graduated. Honestly, I wanna say I waited until June because I went home. So I joined the program late summer of 2013, I think I graduated college. And from there, I mean, I passed the program, all that good stuff. Was working at, if you're familiar with Tampa, International Plaza. And yeah, that's where I started, at that Hollister. But I actually started, when I was in college, I was working at the Abercrombie. They basically just go by, the companies are run the same way, they basically just go by what the store needs. So anyways, I finished my MIT program, and during my MIT program, my district manager was like, you know, what do you want to do? And I was like, I have no idea. But I'd worked for the company forever, so I knew it very, very well. And she was like, you should think about applying for the international program, which is where they open stores overseas. And I was like, oh my God, yes. I love traveling. A little background, I had, when I was in high school, I was part of the student ambassador program, and I went to China for, I wanna say almost a month, and I loved it, and I just love Asian culture in general. And I've always loved Japanese culture as well. But anyways, a blanket over Asian culture in general, I've always been super interested in it. So anyways, she was like, you should think about joining the program. And I was like, yes, yeah, let me do it. And she was like, okay, well, it's a lengthy process and you have to technically be a store manager in order to apply. You can't be an assistant manager, but you can be an assistant manager who's on their way to being a store manager. So I was like, okay, well, I just graduated the MIT program and typically people are assistant managers for like a year or so before they get to store managers. So I was like, okay, I've got time. But I started doing interviews anyways. I had in total probably 4 Skype, Skype email or interviews, and then I had a full in-person interview as well that was like 3 days long in Ohio. So I started interviewing, and then I graduated my MIT program in September, and then I became a store manager at a smaller Abercrombie at Citrus Park Mall, and I became that by the end of the year. And then everything started to ramp up. So in January, I was doing more interviews. Occasionally, they would come like every month or so, and it would be a different city every time. It'd be like, how do you feel about China? How do you feel about Dubai? How do you feel about Kuwait? How do you feel about so-and-so? And I'm just like, okay, yeah, like I don't care where I go. I just think it'd be really cool. And so anyways, I make it through all of my Skype interviews, and then I wanna say around, I don't even know timeline-wise, when I went to the home office, but I wanna say it was in like May, April? No, probably March, April, I'm not sure, of 2014. And I go to Ohio, and I'm with like a group of 7 or 8 other people that are all applying for the same position, and they had 2 positions available, one for a general manager and one for a store manager. And when I'm there and I'm talking to all the people in the car and everything, and like we're roomed with people, they're like, you know, I was told that we're going to Japan. And I was like, what? I never even heard that that was an option. And I was like, that is totally an option that I would love to do, because how cool would it be to not only, you know, go to another country, but also learn another language? Because the thing with Dubai and Kuwait, so many people speak English that they aren't going to put you through the language school, which is what I thought would be the coolest. Because I was like, you just get to like better yourself plus work at a different, I just thought it'd be super cool. So anyways, we go through that 3-day process, and you know, I was honestly feeling pretty good. I remember calling my dad at the airport and being like, this is the first time in my life that if somebody tells me I didn't get the job, it's somebody telling me I'm not good enough for right now what I think is my dream job. And I remember feeling like that's the first time I've ever put myself out there so much that I was so scared. And so I knew it was right and what I wanted so badly. I felt like I did pretty good in the interviews, so it was just a waiting game at that point. And then within like a week or 2, my manager was like, hey, you know, I'm still checking in with them. I haven't heard anything back, but if you don't get that, we are opening a new store, so you would be the store manager of that store. So I was like, either way, both super exciting, but definitely want to go to Japan. So turns out I get the offer, and I'm leaving in June. And so that's crazy. And also, like, during this whole process, I honestly, before even this whole story, I feel like I could go into a whole nother story time. I was actually gonna move to Texas, to Dallas, before I even, like, when I first became a store manager, I was gonna move to Texas instead of go to Japan, instead of stay in Texas, or instead of stay in Florida. But that's a whole nother story. And it all revolved around a guy who ended up coming back in the end. It was craziness, I'll tell you, okay? So we go to Japan. I actually was the girl who also got picked to go to Japan with me. One was for Hollister, one was for Abercrombie. I got the store manager of Hollister. She was supposed to get the GM of Abercrombie. She ended up pulling out. I don't know what happened, whether it was like, I found out like the week I was supposed to go that she just like pulled out. And I was at home getting all of my things tied up and all of that, and found out she wasn't going. And then I found out Neilani was going, and it was just perfect because we were birthday twins. We were like, it was just perfect. So anyways, then I met her when we went to home office, which is in Ohio, for some training. They did such a good job with culturally training us and preparing us for what to expect. And they provided us with kind of like not therapy, but like check-ins, mental check-ins, like once a week, especially when we're going through language training, on how we were adjusting and what resources we had if we were not adjusting, because we signed a 2-year contract, and if we did not complete that 2-year contract, we had to pay back $30,000, which is what they invested in us for our language training, which is pretty crazy and such an honor to be picked for something like that. It was such an experience. Okay, so we're in Japan, okay? Now let's answer some questions. That was my backstory, which was 10 minutes long. Oh my God, this video is gonna be so long. All right, so let me get to some of y'all's questions. So these are in no particular order. I'm literally going through the comments that I got. So from Kelly M, she says, what was your favorite food from Japan? Anything you miss? So my favorite food in Japan was takoyaki, and obviously sushi, but it was takoyaki, which I fell in love with when I went to and moved to Osaka. So I lived in Tokyo and Osaka. Did my language training in Tokyo, moved to Osaka to open a new store, then back to Tokyo when I was promoted to GM. So, takoyaki, which is basically, taco is octopus, and it's inside like this, like, gooey ball. I don't know, it's delicious. I'm obsessed with it, so takoyaki. Okay, so Kim C, she's amazing. She always comments on my videos. She's super sweet. Can you talk about your decision process to come back to the US? I know that relationship didn't work out, but how did you even arrive to the decision to leave? Best decision, by the way. You have the cutest family now. So I agree. I look back at that decision as one of the biggest decisions I had ever made. And I remember pro and conning my decisions, talking through it with my mom, like, am I making the right decision? Do people look back on their decisions and regret them? At that point in life, I just hadn't done that yet. I'd never looked back on a decision and been like, oh my God, that was a bad decision. So I felt like, well, it has to be a good decision. So anyways, I had gone to Osaka and opened a store in Osaka as a store manager. And then I got promoted to general manager of Tokyo Bay in Tokyo. So I moved out to Tokyo. They extended my contract another couple of months because I had to be there at least for a year. So I moved in the summer of 2015, 16, I'm not sure. Timeline's just not there for me. I don't think that's that important. But I moved there, and so I had to sign a longer contract. And after I signed that longer contract, everything was good. You know, the whole process of being in Japan was very, very stressful, and I'll get to more questions about that. But anyways, I had signed that contract, so I was there until I was supposed to be there until the end of August of the following year. So I think I want to say in December of that year that I got moved to Tokyo to open that store, an ex reached out to me. So I mean, this guy, I met him in college during my junior, sophomore year, I wanna say. We were in the same classes together. We had a lot of the same group of friends. I didn't really open up too much about my dating life in college. I don't actually remember if I did or not. Probably I did. He was the reason I didn't move to Dallas. He was the reason I stayed in Tampa. It was a tumultuous relationship. But he had reached out to me and asked if he could come to Japan. I don't remember how we started talking again, but basically that happened. And I was currently still in a relationship. I was in a relationship with Tats, if you remember. And honestly, that relationship was amazing. I honestly feel like that was the first relationship with him. I don't think he watches my videos or anything like that anymore, but that was the first relationship that I felt truly loved, 100%. I remember telling my mom, I know what true love is. I feel that from him. But yeah. But the other side of it is he had I don't want to talk crap. He just had an unhealthy relationship with alcohol. Let's just put it that way. And it was hard. We were also, yeah, it was hard. So unhealthy relationship with alcohol, not the most even balance in terms of it was just not, long-term it wasn't gonna work. So regardless, I was starting to feel that drift when James entered back into my life. It was a friend's trip. It was pure, and when he did visit, it was not romantic, but I let him back in my life. And at that point I had told Tats, you know, hey, like this isn't gonna work. Not because I necessarily wanted to jump into a relationship with James, but just for the sheer fact of like thinking of long term. Like I felt like he had some problems that he really needed to work through, and I just wasn't, I was so busy with work and everything, I just didn't have, we're growing apart, okay? Relationships either grow together or you grow apart. We're growing apart. So those problems started happening before James even came into my life. So anyways, came into my life. It was strictly a friend's trip, but we had broken up anyways. And we went to Hokkaido and we spent Christmas together. He basically spent the entire month of December in Japan, and we traveled all around, and it was a lot of fun. And you know, at the end of that trip we still stayed connected. He did another trip out, then we met in Iceland, no, not Iceland, we met in Italy and traveled Italy together, and then we came back again and we spent time in Japan again together, probably for another month. So we had definitely developed a more serious relationship than we had ever done when we were in college together. And so I had also done another trip out this summer. I was supposed to leave that summer in August, and I did a trip home, and you know, we just, you know, anyways, everything was leading to the point of, okay, well, my contract ends in August and I hadn't heard anything back, so I'm moving back in August. And at that time, my regional manager said to me, we want to promote you to district manager. We want you to stay. We want you to take this position. And I was like, holy crap, that's awesome. But the problem is, it would have gone from a, I forgot, what is the word I'm looking for? An expat, which is someone who just strictly works there. It would have gone from an expat contract, which was amazing because I was given a monthly allowance to live, and then I was also given a salary. So basically I was living on my monthly allowance because it was very high, and pocketing my salary, which was awesome. Plus I was given a trip to go home every year. So it was awesome, and I was like, heck yeah, like I don't want to leave that contract. And if I left that contract, even though they were raising my salary and I was taking an increase and I was getting other benefits, I was losing my cost of living, which my apartment in Japan was $3,000. It was stupid expensive. No, was it $5,000? I don't remember. It was really a lot of money. And so honestly, I was like, I can't, even with that salary, like it would be, I would have to, I don't know, it just lost its benefits. So at that point I had that to think about, but I loved Japan so much. But you know, I was like, well, I'm 25 years old, or about to be 25 years old. Like, you know, I have this guy back in my life that I always wanted a relationship with this man. Like he was somebody when I was in college, like I was like, I'm gonna marry him. I'd always just had something for him, and I was like, he's back in my life. It's perfect timing. We're getting along so well. Everything's great. So I made the decision to say no to the promotion and move back in August. And I was going to Texas. And I don't know if y'all know that literally James met me in Texas. We were staying in my corporate housing that they had given me, and I moved back on a Monday. We broke up on a Wednesday. I think the pressure was too much for me, and I also was being unfair. I swear you can hear that lawnmower. I was being unfair in the fact of I was putting too much pressure on him for making that decision that I truly didn't want to make. And so, yeah, that's probably why the relationship ended, but it is what it is. Everything happens for a reason, like you said. So that's 100% that. And also like my relationship with my mom and my dad, like I was getting older. I needed to settle down. I had moved so much in my younger years. I really wanted to settle down and have a family. And so I just didn't know if that was gonna happen in Japan. And my work-life balance in Japan was just not it. You know, I was working a ton, and yeah, traveling a lot. So I was just making a lot of money, so I was shopping and traveling. basically, to summarize it all, there were 3 decisions that really led to me making a decision to go home. 4. 1 being the guy, 2 being the change in the contract, 3 being I wanted to settle down, and 4 being my family. So that's what ultimately made me decide to move back. And it was one of the hardest decisions in my life. And it's honestly, even though I love my family and I love my life right now, it's probably the one decision in my life that I don't know. Okay. What Raquel asked, I would love to know any tips on adjusting to living in a new country. That's something that Abercrombie, I mentioned, did such an amazing job with. They really provided someone to talk to, and in our HR department that really had already been through the process. So she opened stores, I want to say, in like Germany. So she had the experience. So that was super, super helpful, and just provided the ability to let things out and talk things through. And it's hard. It's super hard to be by yourself in a new country when you don't know the language and you're 25 years old and you're going to school again. And my school experience was very difficult. I didn't learn I never really, the last time I touched another language was in high school when I learned Spanish, and I did all of my college level Spanish in high school, so I never had to take it in college. And I was in a class with Neilani, who knew another language and was really good at language. That was a really strong suit of hers. So I really struggled with language. So it was really hard. That was probably the biggest thing, was the language barrier for me. Next thing. How did I learn the language? Was it hard to communicate? So I went to language school 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. And it was hard. It was super hard. We were learning professional level, like business business Japanese. So it was very proper. And so I didn't truly learn like to express myself or anything like that until I moved back to Tokyo. So over a year into my experience in Japan, and when I got friends and like went out to dinner with them and things like that, that's when I really learned expression and slang, so I could communicate and talk to people and express myself. I would like to know your best and worst experience in Japan, Sophie says. My best experience was the people that I met. I met some amazing friends that I still have that I like to go back and visit, and that was the best part, the people. I freaking love the people in Japan. The worst part was the work stress, and also like, you know, racism exists, and racism I never experienced as a white, you know, female living in America. Never experienced anything like that. For the older generations, like, you know, they looked at me as a person who was taking a job from someone who was Japanese, and I can understand that, totally understand that. But my job in essence was never to take a job. It was to train people to leave, you know, a legacy behind and then move on. It was never to stay there. That's also another reason why I left. That wasn't what I was for. My job was just to train and leave. So, yeah, that was the hardest experience, was the backlash of people not accepting me. Even though I did get so much acceptance, there was still a lot of non-acceptance, and then the stress and pressure of work and not being able to properly communicate. Sometimes I said some things that I'm sure people, you know, were like, it wasn't appropriate. I mean, I remember, I'm not gonna mention names, but I mean, I had an HR complaint about me because I had asked one of my assistant managers, every time she would come back from a day off, I'd be like, how was your day off? What did you do? And she thought that was invasive and not professional. And I didn't realize, because I had no idea. So that was that. If I could give any travel tips, yes, I will message you some travel tips, because that's a whole nother video. I will message you, Meltron. Tracy asked, do I still stay in contact with people I worked with in Japan? Yes, I still do. I love them all. I absolutely love them. Meg asked, can I talk about my experience working for Abercrombie as a store manager? So I kind of did a little bit. I had a really great experience working for them. Of course, with every job, there is like annoyances and hard parts. Working for a company, working here in the States versus working internationally, completely two different experiences. I need to actually do my makeup while I'm talking. This is gonna be a long ass video. Melissa asked, I would love to know the difference, or the cultural differences in shocks from Japan. There was so many. The first one being, the culture shock was how many freaking people there were. The public transportation was insane. So many people on the trains every morning. We lived, when I first moved to Japan, I lived in Shinagawa. Jeez, I'm like so rusty with my life. Ugh. Shinagawa, which is like one of the largest train stations, the busiest in the morning. And I remember just, that was the huge culture shock for me. And also like how organized people are. Like I worked for Abercrombie in the States, and like managing people, like the part-time associates knew, like they plan out their life. So they know everything and they're very organized and responsible. Excited to see you posting oh, Blush Crown is like the sweetest. She's like, she just basically said, I support you. I love the consistency. Jennifer asked, what was my biggest adjustment when moving to Japan? You were so brave. I was born and raised in Tampa. I could never move away. I've just always wanted adventure, new experiences. So that's why I moved. But the biggest adjustment was the language, you guys. The language and just not having friends. Having one friend, but you know, obviously, you know, going back to school was huge. Like I had to go back to school and learn, and like that was just not something I was good at. That was the part where I cried. I remember crying like all the time after language school, because it was something where I was just like, I'm too old for this. Like I don't even know what I'm like. Oh, it was just, it was tough. So that was probably the biggest adjustment, is going back to school and just starting from ground zero. Like I felt like I should, like I joined a college class and I didn't even graduate. Like it was, or didn't even graduate high school. It was rough for me. I was really struggling with language. Haley asked, did it actually feel like home or more like an extended vacation? I love all the videos. Aw, that's so sweet. It actually felt like home after my like second vacation out of Japan. So at first it never felt like home, until I started traveling. And then, and then it felt like home sheerly for the fact that like I'm a routine person. So I started getting into a routine and knowing what I wanted and doing the same things and seeing the same people. So it started to feel like home towards the end, without a doubt. Did you think you'd meet the love of your life in Japan? Did you have relationships while you're there? If you met someone and they asked you to live there for good, would you have? So this is Christine. So I didn't have a relationship when I was in Japan. And how I met him is he used to work for Hollister. He quit. I met him at like his going away party. But anyways, did I think I would meet the love of my life? No, I didn't. I had no idea. I had no idea what I was doing when I was there. I was actually moving from a relationship, so I had no idea what I was gonna get myself into. And would I have met, if my relationship was going well, I probably would have stayed, to be honest with you, 100%. Okay, Soccer XOZ says, do you mind talking about the transition over there, leaving family, etc.? And then how did you know it was time to come back? So my transition, like I said, they provided a lot of resources and knowledge to like talk through problems and what we were struggling with. We would always talk about like a highlight and a low light of the week. So that was easy. And honestly, I'd already lived away from my family. I moved to Florida, so I didn't have constant contact with my family. The thing that was hard is I couldn't call my mom. I used to call my mom every day on my way to work, and I couldn't call my mom every day because it was a 12-hour difference. So that was a trouble thing. And then I was on a contract, so I had no chance. Once my contract ended, I was leaving, but I was, like I said, offered an extension, and I knew it was time to come home when I just really realized like I want to start a family, and I can't have kids there, like my grandparents, you know, all that stuff. So Abby says, how is it getting used to food, figuring out what is at the grocery store? That was hard. You guys know I love to grocery shop. Y'all know I love Trader Joe's. I want to say that was probably the hardest thing, was me leaving my Trader Joe's. Honestly, it was so hard, you guys. You remember my Costco trips? Dude, it was like next level. The grocery store experience was really difficult. I never found one that I like truly loved. Some of it was so expensive. It was honestly cheaper to eat out. Yeah, grocery shopping was definitely interesting. I didn't have the same things I was used to having. The quantity was different, the quality was different. The fruit there is amazing, but it's very expensive. Like you can't just buy like a giant pint of strawberries. They're like each individually placed on styrofoam, like a pad of styrofoam, and they're like $15. But they're delicious, but it's expensive. So yeah, that was grocery shopping. I miss Trader Joe's like no other. Were you interested in Japan's culture before moving there? Yes, I really was. I remember watching like Anthony Bourdain, what else? Hero Dreams of Sushi, a lot of different things. I loved Japanese culture. I remember 2 things you couldn't stand in Japan you kept saying in your videos, the weather, or the grocery stores and the weather. You are correct. The grocery stores were difficult. I would bring a suitcase to Costco and, oh my God, I remember. Girl, I remember. The weather was, it rained for like 3 months every year, which was annoying, and it was very hot and humid, and it was very cold during the winter and very dry. Like you needed a dehumidifier in the summer because I got mold on my couch, and then I would need a humidifier in the winter because I would be so dry and everything would be static, my hair. Next question. Jennifer says, first of all, I love the consistency, so sweet. So many questions about Japan. Can you tell us what the best and worst experience you had in Japan? I kind of did already. And next, was it hard to get accepted by people there as a foreigner? Yes and no. The younger people, no, not at all. The other part, I will say, now that I'm thinking about it, was the hard part also was trying to be a boss, like knowing knowledge and like proving that, you know, I'm here for a reason, but also not knowing the culture and how to hire people. There was a whole different process of hiring and paperwork and all of that you had to hire somebody with that was so freaking lengthy and difficult. And so that was like, I had no idea how to do that. So I had to humble myself in the fact of not knowing that, but also realize like I'm still the boss. I'm making these decisions. So some of my assistant managers had already opened other stores and, you know, had worked for the company for a little while, but they were under me at that point, and sometimes they knew more than I did in terms of cultural things, but I still had the ability to manage people, and I had to remind myself why I was there for that. Do you still keep in touch with Nailani? I do. She just had a baby, so that's super cool. And is she still working there? She's not working there. Do they speak English, or does it depend on the area? It depends on the area. All the younger kids, they have language, they speak English in school, like they're taught it, but some of them don't feel comfortable if their skills aren't there. And a lot of them love to practice with you, so that was fun. If your personal life would have been different back then, would you have stayed there a few more years? Yes, I would have. I think I addressed that. Yes. Yes, I would have. I would love to know how they perceived you as an independent woman, and were they judgmental and racist. This is from Carolina. Yes, racism I did experience. I mean, they have people protesting on the street saying like, we don't accept foreigners, we want you to go home, like, because it's an island. They want to keep their community tight. I get it. But I also, you know, I think the younger generation realizes that being, you know, accepted of all their cultures is very, very important. So there's that. Perceived as an independent, yeah, I mean, I don't think that, I mean, I would hear people, when I started learning better Japanese, I would hear people talk about me on the train. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure people did judge me because I was like, you know, just a white girl doing her thing, but I didn't really care. So there's that. Obviously I was very respectful of the culture. So, what happened to the relationship you had in Japan? And like I said, we grew apart. Okay, Ashley asked, I would love to know why you left Japan. So I kind of explained that. Your favorite places you lived, Tokyo is my favorite. And yeah. Oh, Anna Lee, she always comments too. She's the sweetest. I'm from Japan, and it would be interesting to know what you liked and didn't like about Japan. Oh my God, you guys, I feel like I've been recording forever. What I didn't and I did like about Japan. So I loved the culture. I loved the temples, the shrines. I loved all of that. I loved the nature that Japan had, even though it was a giant city. It was kind of, oh, I just loved it. And then anything I didn't like about Japan, the weather was like, and the grocery stores. Kind of answered those questions, but Anna, thank you so much for all the support. I love you. Okay, this is the last question I'm gonna ask because, oh my God. Were you scared to live in Japan? Okay, there's more, but it's not related to chart. Oh my God, I just thumbs down that. I didn't mean to thumb down your comment. Oh my gosh. Were you scared to live in Japan? Yes, I was scared. Now thinking back, like me and Ilani did not have cell phones until we became residents, and we didn't become residents until we moved to Osaka, which was like 3 months, which is crazy. That tells you how safe of a country Japan is. That's another thing. I don't know if I ever talked about this. When me and Ilani, our language school was in like this building, there was a Starbucks in the building right next to it that we would always grab Starbucks before. Starbucks was also different in good and bad ways. I loved my venti iced coffee sweetened with cream. They did not have that there. Anyways, they don't have cream. They have little cups. And the sweetener, they don't have classic sweetener. Those things you just don't think about. I would always get a latte. Anyways, safety. We would put our wallets on our table to mark our table before we went to the bathroom or got our drinks or whatever. We'd put all of our stuff there. Yeah, that tells you how safe Japan is. So safe, it's insane. Anywho, I think that wraps up my video because I've been talking for a million years. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really had a lot of fun filming it because it just brings me back. I hope you got a little bit more of an insight as to why I left Japan, why I moved to Japan, what happened when I was in Japan, what I loved, what I hated, all of that stuff. I loved doing this. If you want to see more videos like this with topics and things like that, let me know in the comments down below some topics that you want me to record. I love you guys so much. Thank you for all the continued support, all the questions, and thank you for watching this insanely long video. I will see you all in my next Girl Talk. Bye guys.